Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to another RISB Masterclass webinar. And today it's titled People Movement Analytics Operational Trials from MTN Melbourne. And the speakers will be Michael Jewell, Paul Parfumi, and Martin Ruiz. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where we meet today. And for me in Adelaide, that's the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains, and to pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any First Nations people who might be with us today. I'll quickly introduce each of the speakers and their background, and then we can get into it. I think we've got more than 200 registered, so it's a topic that's obviously piqued the interest of a few people. Firstly, Michael Jewell. He's the General Manager of Network Performance at Metro Trains Melbourne, with expertise in rail operations, business improvement, and data-driven decision-making. He specialises in optimising network efficiency and implementing strategic performance initiatives. With more than 20 years in rail and engineering, Michael leverages Lean, Six Sigma, and project management expertise to drive operational excellence. He's passionate about improving railway performance through strategic leadership and stakeholder engagement. Paul Parfumi has been the Head of Innovation at Metro Trains Melbourne for 6 years. He leads a team focused on assessing and championing new ways of supporting performance efficiencies, enhancing safety and improving passenger experience. And Martin Ruiz is the Performance and Process Improvement Lead at Metro Trains, with over 18 years experience, specialised in continuous improvement across businesses such as fast-moving consumer goods, logistics and rail operations. He has led critical cross-functional teams in implementing frameworks and process to enable standardisation, continuous improvement and the correct prioritisation of initiatives. Might give you a call after this, Martin. We could probably use some help in some of those areas at times. Yeah, thank you again, gentlemen, for making your time today. And just a reminder for those online, if you've got any questions, just pop them into the chat. And when we get to the end of the presentation, we can go through those questions, and depending how hard they are, the guys will decide who answers them. So without any further delay, I'll hand over to you guys.
Great, thank you. Yeah, we're really excited to present on it today. This is a project that has been in the works for around about 2 years now. So it's gone from a proof of concept and now is in an operational trial. So the People Movement Analytics initiative is really around about improving the safety on the network. It really focuses on crowd management. So how do we manage density and loading of crowds on our platforms, especially after some of our major events at the MCG. But it also looks at trespasser detection. So identifying when we unfortunately end up in those situations where members of the public end up in the rail corridor. So this has been a great initiative. It's brought together various parts of the business. Obviously, Metro being a very large organisation, we can get quite siloed at times, but it's been really good bringing the assets and assurance part of the business together with the operations part, really to work as one Metro. So I'll hand over to Paul Parfumi, who can take us through the journey.
Thanks. So yeah, today we'll be talking about, I'll take you briefly through our innovation process at Metro and how we do innovation, and then we'll dive into people movement analytics. So we have a dedicated innovation function at Metro where we cultivate and foster an environment where we can have new novel ideas and improvements and keep driving those ideas for improving our network and our service for our passengers. Strategic collaboration is part of that. So part of that is that we align to business initiatives. It'd be great to do all different types of innovations, but at the moment we're really focused on supporting the business and supporting our passenger experience outcomes and delivering those value-added outcomes to address those key challenges. We empower our people through innovation as well. So we help our people navigate through the process and the life cycle. Because people have got some great ideas, sometimes it's just about helping them through that process to get to the other side and get these ideas into reality. We have a passenger-centric approach, so enhancing passenger experience through our safety, reliability and productivity. We apply a disciplined creativity approach as well. So that's really about having a structure, but also having an ability to be creative around that structure. And that way you never know where you're going to end up. And that's how we ended up here with this initiative and the LiDAR response versus more traditional responses. We do apply that saying of fail fast, learn fast. So if it doesn't make sense, we give it up. We don't keep trying to flog a dead horse. Is that the one? We keep going, but we pivot. We look at what else could we do differently. Our people, it's all about our people as well, and so it's about driving those outcomes through engaging with our people and leveraging the diversity that people bring. And finally, our process is really about applying a user-centric change management approach as well. So it's about how does the product or the output really impact our people and our passengers, and that way we bring that into the process and we can then deliver a fit-for-purpose solution rather than have to tidy that up at the end. We do apply our values. We really live by our values at Metro, our values of zero harm, make a difference, being dependable, caring, and operating as one team, as Michael's already touched on. So yeah, this is a really exciting initiative, and today we'll take you through people movement analytics. There's two key risks that we are trying to help address here. One of those is member of public being struck by train, and the other one is a platform train interface. And we believe that we have done a really good job to date through our initial POC, which was really about selecting the right technology for our use cases, and now through operational trials, and we'll see some of those outcomes today. So why people movement analytics? Let me go back one, sorry. Technology, righto. Population in Melbourne's increasing, and it continues to increase rapidly. We're now looking at passenger numbers that are looking like pre-COVID levels, heading towards. And this initiative, as Michael said, aims to help manage crowds and also trespasser management, especially during special events, and trying to address those trespasser issues as well. And these challenges will only persist and get even bigger as we go into more populated Melbourne. So also, as Michael talked about, it's about crowd management and trespasser management. So first up, crowd management. Passenger movement on platforms can impact overcrowding and trespasser incidents, and that can be due to people spilling into the pit. For example, we don't have platform screen doors on our traditional Melbourne network, and so that could happen. Current crowding levels are estimated by site, so we've got a level of error that can occur there, human error, and therefore can be inaccurate, and it does vary between people. Overcrowding can cause an unintentional fall into the pit, which can obviously result in serious injuries and fatalities. From a trespasser management point of view, trespassers can enter the network from the end of the platform, and they can go undetected for a period of time, until they're sometimes seen by drivers and sometimes not. This can result in needing to stop all trains and therefore impacting the network as well and causing mass disruptions. So these challenges are causing impact to our passengers and our people as well. We're looking to support our operational staff in managing the platform crowding during peak times and special events, and also that the strategic trespasser program to bring down the trespasser incidents and also trespasser disruption that goes on in the network. In terms of our people do get affected, obviously, when if there is an incident where a trespasser is struck. It is a devastating situation for our people, and the trauma that it causes is massive, and it can lead to obviously lost time injuries as well. So it's about trying to protect our people as well. A little bit on the technology. So As I said, we did do some technology trials. It's now a couple of years ago, where we put up against each other LiDAR and other solutions. We had 3D cameras as well as the traditional CCTV cameras. And what we found is that LiDAR actually supports our use cases in a much better way, in a much more economical way as well, not only from a performance point of view, but also from a cost point of view. And also it brought to us the ability to open up that technology to support further use cases. And we can talk a little bit about that today as well. The people response, so we are in operational trials at the moment at 2 stations, and the people response has been very positive, given that now we've got a data-driven approach to our management of these type of challenges. Yeah, I'll stop there for that, but we've got it installed at Parliament Platform 4 and Richmond Platforms 9 and 10. So in terms of developing the solution, we did talk about the one team already. This has been a real one team approach in developing this solution. We did engage with a vendor for our trial, which was very flexible and very was able to innovate with us. So it was about experimentation. It wasn't about having necessarily a fixed scope, but it was about driving innovation together. It's a cloud-based solution, so at the moment it does not touch the MTM network. In the future it may. But at the moment, it's purely cloud-based and disconnected. It's LiDAR-driven. LiDARs the ones we are using, can see, we'll call it C, 70-odd meters. So that's been able to reduce our footprint or our asset count on the platform. We're using 3 and 4 LiDARs, depending on the platform. And we have applied a human-centered HMI or human machine interface design to developing the screens for our operators and our AOs and our staff, basically, which has been really good. We've built those together with the vendor as well. There's a few graphics on the side there. I think we'll be touching on those a little bit more later. Yeah. All right, I'll hand over to Martin now, who will take us through the key benefits.
All right, so thanks, Paul. So let me walk you through the benefits that this initiative is bringing to Metro Trains Melbourne. First of all, I believe it's important to highlight the fact that the People Movement Analytics tool provides the real-time accurate data to support decision-making for a safer outcome for our passengers. So our key message here is moving from a reactive and subjective approach to a more proactive and objective one. All right, so with that said, let me walk you through some of these benefits here. Platform age safety. The system provides the visibility of passengers breaching the yellow line or those unintentionally falling into the pit due to overcrowding, as Paul mentioned a few seconds ago. What we are doing with the data then, so we are gathering the data, we are analyzing the data to review current practices as well as to implement potential improvements to reduce overcrowding and optimize the passenger distribution of platforms at key stations. From the trespasser incidents perspective, brief context here, which again aligns to what Paul mentioned a few minutes ago. These type of events, we have seen an increase significantly year on year. Data that actually has been extracted in the last 5 years. And unfortunately, this has impacts to not only passengers, but people as well at Metro Trains Melbourne. From the passenger perspective, we have massive delays, massive disruptions, and from our people perspective, mainly drivers, due to the trauma associated with this type of events. So what technology does in this space provides automatic trespasser alerts and continual crowd density monitoring, which enables our operational staff to proactively identify and quickly respond to this type of emergencies. From the special services point of view, to put it in easy terms here, these ones are going to be all the extra services or trains that we put in place to cater for those major sporting, musical, cultural events happening in our city. So what we have here is this tool has a crowd management feature, which provides much better understanding of how the passengers flow on the platform. We are aiming here to protect the safety of our passengers and our people. But one item that we are looking into here is the fact of how we could maximize or how could we optimize the use of our assets. In other words, how we maximize the capacity of the trains. So, because what we are targeting here is actually to run an efficient rail operation. Another item that actually comes out of this section here is the fact that by analyzing the data, gathering the data, real-time data, it helps us actually to prepare ourselves for future. What I'm trying to say is that whenever we are going to have another Taylor Swift or the next New Year's Eve or the AFL Grand Final, or even the closest one to us is the Anzac game, how many trains we need for those type of events, how many people we need to deploy to service those events. Those events are going to happen at night, in the afternoon, mid-morning. It's going to happen on the weekday, weekend. So all of that, the data that's coming from the system is going to help us to be in a much better space for future plan. Which actually we have seen already some benefits, which we are going to show in the next slides. I had the opportunity to be in the last Thursday, the Carlton Richmond game at Richmond. And again, I could see how the operational staff works quite closely with our station staff using this tool kind of to ensure that the service to our passengers are going to be spot on. From the platform overcrowding and block and hold, again, brief context here. Block and hold is a practice that we use at Metro Trains Melbourne to control crowds. Based on what the system provides, based on the real data coming from the system allows us actually to identify where the overcrowding is happening. And then by doing that, we deploy people to go to those specific zones of the platform to minimize the density or potentially put in place this block and hold. In alignment with that, the platform distribution becomes kind of a consequence of what is coming from the tool. We could control crowds in two sides. One is the block and hold, and then the other one is announcements. So we manage those crowds, the density through announcements to ensure that we are going to even out the platform distribution to ensure that those are going to be put back or bring back to a safer population level. All right, so based on consultation and working as one team with different departments, we define what are the tools that we need actually to make this happen and where we are going to install this equipment. So the equipment that I'm referring to is an iPad, a conventional iPad, which is our human machine interface. And this iPad or system was located at the control room at the station, Parliament in Richmond, and then at the platform booth. Hope that you guys have seen at the platform level, we have small rooms where there's a station staff there. Now what they are doing is they are referring to this screen to manage the crowds. On top of that, what we have implemented is a mini iPad. The mini iPad that you guys could see on the right-hand side. This mini iPad has been provided to our operational staff to be used during the special events. So this mini iPad is carried by the team leader, and then the team leader, based on how the platform density goes through when people are going back home, to organize in such a way that we are going to optimize the distribution. We are going to reduce the density to ensure that everyone is safe and then everyone is going to get home the same evening. On top of that, it is important actually to mention that is not we decided to go hardwire the connection to ensure that the data is going to come to the tablet real time in less than 2 seconds. And as I mentioned a few seconds ago, this has been put in place as one team. We have trained multiple teams, stations, operations, authorized officers. You could see a few photos there. And actually, to make it a bit modern as well, we put our training package online, so it's easy to access by any of the staff members there. And then what we are now is that we are reviewing the training, we are gathering more feedback. Next month we are going to do another refresher training. There's new stuff coming in to ensure that everyone knows what to do when managing crowds or when identifying trespassers. Next. All right, so kind of to recap at this stage. So at the moment, we have the features running live at those two locations. And then this operational trial will be run for 12 months. The crowd management solution, the feature was implemented at Richmond and Parliament in September last year, just before the AFL final rounds with success. The trespasser feature was implemented at Parliament on the 11th of February this year with success. And the trespasser feature at Richmond, this is a good news for us. We put that live on Thursday, the 13th of March, last week. So we have reviewed the data. The data came clean and actually, again, a success. However, we are going to review what are the opportunities for improvement that we have on this tool. Important to mention that we have a validation process in the background. What we do is we have to check each and every detection coming from the system. We have to validate that. The way that we do it is we check CCTV to ensure that the system is prompting or detecting what's supposed to. And then we feed back that to the stations as a e-learning. This is a key a demo.
So will this play? Press.
Yeah. That's it. So what we're trying to show here to you guys is actually how the system works in the background and what is the interface or what is the message or the information that the guys see in the field. As you could see on the left-hand side is how the system operates in the background with all of the logic that we put in place. And on the right-hand side is actually how those bars move, is actually people at a specific zone of the platform. So it's quite dynamic. And as I mentioned a few seconds ago, this is 1 to 2 seconds real-time data coming through.
That onto the next one. I'm stuck in the loop.
Just pause it first. Assuming.
Then,
Then, no. Yep.
Thanks.
You're right. We are the innovation side. All right. So just kind of going into what we have in the field, just what it's actually here. Let's talk first about the crowd management feature. So on the left-hand side, you could see this is an example of what the guys could see in the field. To make it easier for our operational staff to understand and to identify, we broke down the platform in 6 zones, A to F, and then to provide much better indication of how the crowds move, we implemented an indicator. So it turns yellow. Platform intensity turns yellow when it's equal or greater than 70%. And it turns orange when it's equal or greater than 85%. For instance, we have seen cases that it's 87%. We have been in the field, and actually that's when the platform of that specific zone is kind of getting very, very busy. And then that's when operational staff, based on that information, takes over and then manages the crowd. We have done as well platform occupancy validation. Again, just to ensure that whatever is in the field is true reflection of what's in on the iPad. And actually, feedback from our operational staff, it's great. Just moving to a case study there at the bottom section of the slide. This happened on Friday the 6th last year. AFL qualifiers, Bulldogs versus Hawthorn. The information that the guys were receiving on the iPad, as you could see on the left-hand side, left bottom corner, is that the color bars were indicating an overcrowding in the zone B and C. That, for instance, in the zone Z was already in orange. So there's a risk potentially of people falling unintentionally into the pit or some injuries out of that. So what they did is, first of all, the overcrowding is happening there. The focus was there. They reacted actually on time, real time. They brought those zones to a safer population level in less than 1 minute. As you could see, moving from the left, from this to the right-hand side. And then we look at video, CCTV, and actually we could see how the passengers actually were distributed properly across the platform. There was no need of block and hold because of this management of the crowds based on the data. And again, we witnessed a great experience and communication between the operators, which is our RIC, our race commander, incident commander, with our station's staff, and great participation by our authorized officers as well. Next. All right, so just going into the real life. This happened on the Friday. First of all, apologies if there's an incident supporter actually in the group, in the chat. So what happened there is on the left-hand side of the graph, you could see how the crowds, they are moving to those specific different zones. So this depends on the game, I have to say. That day, the game was quite leaning to Hawthorn, and then people start leaving the stadium early. And that's what we call the first wave, which is represented on the graph on the left-hand side. These type of behaviors actually help directly when we manage crowds because we don't have one full wave in one hit. But this is a great example that the guys have received this information on the tablet. Okay, guys, the first wave is coming through, and then it kind of drops. People on the train left, and then the big group of people actually started to come at approximately 22:30, as what you could see on the graph. And that is how actually, based on that information, that's when our authorized officers started to control the platform density accordingly. And you could see they then actually exceeded the 50-ish% platform occupancy on that day. Trespasser detection feature, as I said, now it's live in both of those two key locations. As part of the findings, we identified different categories of trespassing behaviors. Even when we knew that previously, the data coming from the system confirmed some of those, and some of those, I have to say, they were new to us, because now we have the factual information coming from us that this is happening at this time, even by the second. One area of concern actually was those ones at the end of the platform. I have to say, as part of this validation process, we came across with unknowns. This was a bit of a challenge that we were working together with Paul and his team and the vendor. We kind of tried to do a lot of adjustments in the logic behind to ensure that we're going to get the success required. So then what we have then, one implemented based on consultations with operations and vendor, now we have a trespasser alert that is via a flashy alert, and it sounds as well. So that's great. Just to give you the context, the station staff, they are not just looking at one specific platform. In some cases, they have 15, 16 platforms, or even 13. But now if something is happening, at least they could see that something is happening. But on top of that, there's a sound. And that sound actually alerts the staff what to do next. The cases that you could see on those pictures there is a Parliament case, which has been running very well since the 11th of February. And the way that the station staff are managing these situations of potentially trespassing behavior, they are managing that with an announcement. And on top of that, they are recording that into a logbook. We are reviewing the data every week with them. And since then, actually has been a great feedback from them. Just kind of going into dashboards, what this data it's able actually to display. Now, as you could see there, if there's a trespass alarm that we were able to display, the system display even dwells our platforms. As you could see that on the top right corner. The next one.
Yeah, I'll just add that, we can see here in real time, this is just a dashboard. We can do many different types. We can see in real time here that we've broken the platform up into 6 zones, which line up with each carriage of a typical train, although we have got 7 carriage trains now. And that's all in real time into the dashboard.
So again, more information coming through. We love data, we love insights, because that's the way that actually we are going to improve things. This dashboard, for instance, shows the traffic, how many people are boarding or alighting a specific zone of the platform and at what time of the day. As you know, for instance, here, this is the mainly during the morning. So if there's more people actually alighting the trains, they are coming to work. But this type of information, again, help us to review our performance, help us to plan for future days. So we are in a much better space, actually, of where we were a few months ago.
Thanks, Martin. Good one. What's next? So what we're looking at next is to further deploy select stations that can, where this technology can support our use cases, especially for those peak times and special events, and also explore the potential to expand this technology into intersection. So what that means between platforms, especially for trespasser detection. Technology actually getting better. LiDARs are improving all the time, and their costs are coming down as well. So we're looking to do something in section there. And also, as I said, enhanced LiDAR technology is coming out, and we're looking to applying the latest best-in-class technology to our use cases. And that is really about it from us at this point. We'll open up the questions.
Great, thank you for that. We've got a few questions. We got some from some RISB staff ahead, and as we're going through that, it prompted me to think about a couple. But first off, the ones on the line, is the management of crowd, decision, announcement, etc., automated or done by human operator?
It currently, I'll do it on behalf of operations. Currently done via an announcement through voice and operations, but there's no reason why we couldn't connect this to an automated system as well at some point. So that could work. Yeah, definitely a great question. And we have talked about this. We haven't done it yet, but we don't see it being a difficult thing to do.
Okay. Is there a trespasser alert also to network control or security in case rail traffic needs to be stopped?
That is currently not. However, that's our next stage. At the moment, that those alerts are coming to the station control room. But then the next stage is that we are going to have the same display in our control center.
Okay. And what advantage does LiDAR give you over automated analysis of CCTV camera footage?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that was our technology trial we talked a couple of years ago. So there are some key differences here. LiDAR gives you a 3D aspect of the environment, where generally CCTV will give you 2. There is an increased requirement for CCTV cameras along a platform. So CCTV has a field of view of about 10 metres, which means we'd need about 16 cameras along the platform, which drives more infrastructure, more electrical connections, etc. LiDAR can go about 70 metres, which means we only use 3, maximum 4 in some cases. And then there's the additional use cases that comes with the 3D aspect of LiDAR, such as on and off the train, for example. There's a virtual line that we use between train and platform. As that line is crossed by people and direction, we can then measure how many people are coming on and off train. That's just one example of a use case that we found accidentally, actually. But yeah, we found for our environment and for our use cases, we found LiDAR to be the superior technology. Not to say that CCTV can't do some of it, but for us, it was LiDAR.
Okay. Do the LiDAR devices suffer from obscuration? I think being obscured.
Yes, as does CCTV. We found this in the trial. So I'm now stuck on the word you used, and I'm stuck on the actual word we use. So I can't remember it. But yeah, basically, yes, there is a occlusion. Is that it? That's the word, occlusion. That's it. Yeah, there is, but it's reduced because the LiDAR sees from both sides. It actually sees from 360. So if it sees, I'm going to do this, see if this works. If it sees a person on this side, and this person is obstructing this other person on this side, then the other LiDAR is seeing this person, and it can determine that there's actually 2 people there, not just one. So yes, reduced, not eliminated.
Okay. This isn't a trick question. I saw you've got a human-machine interface part of the project. Did you happen to use the RISB standard in designing that by any chance?
We'd have to refer to our human practice people. Off the cuff, I'd probably say yes, but that's a safe response. I'll have to check that. I'll have to check that really. Yeah.
I think it's a pretty new document, so don't be too hard on
well,
yourself.
then maybe not then.
And just a question about changing public behaviour on the platform. So those bar graphs that show the utilisation, if you like, of the platform and where the peaks are they or would you provide that display to the public so that just like when you on your apps you can see what carriages are most full on a train, if you're on a crowded part of the platform and you can see the other end is less crowded, it might encourage people to move?
Yeah, we did talk about things like that, and especially, I don't know, for those that have come out of the MCG after a big game, there's a way to Brunton Avenue just before you even get into the station. So we talked about things like actually providing messaging to the crowd along, you know, what the wait time is going to be until they'll actually get on the platform and things like that. So there's definitely future enhancements that we can provide and a bit more messaging to the public using the technology as well.
Maria, would you like to answer the HF question? I don't know if you can.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can, but feel free to type it in the chat. Sorry, I keep disappearing. Couple of questions from our staff. Are there any privacy concerns related to collecting and using this sort of data?
Because LiDAR cannot distinguish between people, so it is just seeing that there is a person, but it can't actually tell you who that person is. We've got CCTV, and we use CCTV for operational safety purposes. That's what we can use it for, and we have very strict processes around all that. But LiDAR does not have privacy breaches associated with it.
That brings us actually to that video presenting that the system sees as dots.
Has there been a measurable impact on reducing delays, congestion, or incidents since the system's been introduced?
So reducing delays, I think that the example of last week in football might be one.
Yeah, so the main benefits that we have seen with the tool is during the inspection.
Okay.
The one that I was pressing, for instance, I can bring that up. It's on Thursday. So the tool was actually heavily utilized, a traffic management feature, to ensure that the trains were utilized, and then to kind of to distribute the passengers along the platform, to the point that actually there was no need for block and hold. But they were referring to actually the information coming from the field. They were organizing the trains in and out. The stations were in communication with the rest of the guys in the field.
I'll also add that the reason that we chose Platform 4 at Parliament was pre-pandemic. That was the most heavily loaded platform pretty much on our network during the PM peak. But we're still only about 75% of patronage return across the network. So we really haven't seen those peak loadings yet that we were kind of expecting that we'd hope to see during this trial as well. So,
Okay.
And just to provide kind of a bit more of insights, with 86,500 people last Thursday, it took 47 minutes actually to clear the crowds at Richmond last Thursday, which actually that's a great result.
Okay, so I'm just going to unmute Maria. Try to.
Yeah, it looks like, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry to hijack, but I can answer that question. So I'm Maria Appel, and I was the human factors lead for this project. And we did not use the RISB standard to inform any of the HMI design as part of this. However, we used other HF standards, such as the human factors design standard from the FAA. We used Nielsen and Norman. We used a lot of other guidelines. I was actually part of the review group for the new HF standard, and it was still underway, and there were gaps in it, so we couldn't actually use it at that time. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
That's great, and it sounds like it's now going to be used in the future. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
And I've got one last question. It's for me. So there was a graphic there as part of the dashboard that sort of illustrated the one before, that illustrated people and wheelchair and maybe a pram. Is that one? What am I trying to say? Is that picking up the LiDAR's picking up those? It's able to detect different things than just people, so it can detect someone in a wheelchair or mobility equipment and someone with a pram.
Yeah, so during the technology trials, we found that we had to focus either on objects or people. And part of that was, it gets pretty technical, but it was about licensing as well. You can only have one instance of software running on the server, all this sort of stuff. However, we found that LiDAR wasn't the best in detecting. It needs to do a lot of crunching to detect, say, for example, a wheelchair or a pram. There are better ways to do that. We found that 3D cameras can do that much better. And they have got an analytic in there built in that can actually now detect things like wheelchairs and prams and other things. So we stopped with that 3D camera at the technology trials, but we are looking at where else how can we apply that, what we learned during the technology trial for using that 3D camera. But we did progress the LiDAR. So we do need to circle back on that camera or that type of camera to see what it can do for us. Yeah.
Yeah, just a bit of background. Paul and I had a conversation probably best part of 6 months ago now around the potential for, particularly there was a nasty double fatality on the Sydney Trains network, being able to detect unattended wheelchairs. There's actually an organisation in the UK that's used sort of this similar technology for detecting unattended baggage on station platforms. So I think there's a lot of potential, like a lot of things. Once you can come up with a solution for the base case, there's often a whole heap of spin-offs, and I think that's what we're starting to see with this one. I think that's about it. I think your presentation, well, certainly the recording of this presentation will be on our website, and I assume you're happy for us to release a copy of the presentation as part of that.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Good. And I think this is a good question. How does people movement analytics help in planning for the future infrastructure upgrades or service improvements?
I think one of the really good aspects is, so we got a lot of data through MyKey, so the actual touch on and touch off of people entering and exiting stations, but we don't have as good a data of people transiting or transferring at stations. And that was one of our original use cases at Richmond is a massive interchange station. How many people actually do that on a daily basis? And anyone that's been to Richmond, it's totally out of date. It needs rebuilding. At some point, they're going to have to do it. And we're hoping this is the type of data that really sort of helps the design of that in the future. So,
excellent. All right. Well, thank you for that. There's one last plug for Maria. She's going to be at the RISB Rail Safety Conference presenting on HF stuff. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that. Look, thank you again, gentlemen. Really, really appreciate your time. These sessions are both important and people look forward to them. We can see by the number of people that have been on today and the questions. So it really is a valuable part of industry learning and sharing. So I really appreciate you guys making the time for that. And our next webinar on the 1st of April will be the Track Safe Foundation, working together to save lives. So thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Bye.
Great. Bye.